Haiku. My name is Haiku. I'm working for Pyramid Venture. We did invest in a couple of decent markets already, and we're really along the space. And I'll be a moderator today, and maybe we have like each one of the panelists to say one thing about yourself. What are you working on? Who you are?
All right. Hello. My name is Mark, co-founder of Aethir. At Aethir, we build distributed GPU infrastructure for AI companies. Easiest way to think about us is like an AWS or Google Cloud, except we focus exclusively on GPUs, the engine powering AI, and we don't actually own any of those GPUs ourselves. In that sense, we're a DePIN, similar to the way that Airbnb or Uber is built on the back of infrastructure that they don't own, Filecoin or Helium in the crypto space. We don't actually own any of the enterprise-grade GPUs. We aggregate often underutilized or inefficiently managed supply out there in the market and then resurface it for AI companies all over the world.
Thank you. And John?
So I should steal some of your verbiage. I'm John Long. I'm co-creator of the Gonka protocol. And this is also a decentralized, it's a DePIN focused on building a network for delivering inference and training directly through the network with no centralized control, just whoever wants to join and whoever wants to bring GPU to serve inferences.
Thanks. Zach?
Sure. So I'm Zach. I've been in the space for about 10 years. And we started as Pundi X. And right now we are building Pundi AI. And I think you can look at Pundi AI as a data layer, data platform for data sets owner to actually build, monetize, and actually enhance their data. So, and also a little bit of like pump fund for data set as a side feature. Yeah, thanks.
Got it, thanks. So starting from the first question, what are the main challenges in building like a Web3 AI company right now? What challenges are we facing in order to get like so-called Web3 AI built right now? Marty?
Sure. I think, in general, building in the Web3 space is challenging at the moment. I think fundraising across the board has been more difficult over the past kind of 12 months than I think it's almost ever been. I think we look at TGEs, it's been very difficult for projects to succeed launching their token. So I think just in general, there's kind of a higher bar to success than there has been previously. Counter to that, though, I do think the broader AI sector within crypto is one that's kind of outperformed many other narratives and something that I think will continue. I don't see that slowing down. And in particular, I think there's a number of very interesting technical avenues that crypto or the Web3 space can provide significant value to the broader AI ecosystem, right? Of course, DePIN, I think, adds a very, very interesting flavor to data aggregation and supply management, particularly from a compute side of things. I think distributed and decentralized training, the idea of being able to take training runs or inferencing runs and conduct those on a heterogeneous cloud is something that works very well in the blockchain space. So I think that if you look at AI within the crypto space through the lens of performance, I don't think you're going to necessarily see the things that you might want to see. I think centralized AI is really going to kind of continue to dominate from a performance perspective. But if you start to think about it through a different lens, there are a very interesting number of problems that I think we can address in really significant ways within the crypto AI space.
Okay. John?
So I think this more from an engineering perspective. I certainly want to add, I agree with a lot of what Mark said, but I think one of the core problems is finding the right balance between using your network to verify your network and using your network to actually deliver value to customers. One of the things we've focused on Gonka is reducing that cost as much as possible. Using deterministic AIs and validation across the network, we've been able to get about 1 to 10% of the resources on the network being used to validate versus, say, 50% or more we've seen in some of the other networks. And here, I guess I would disagree a little bit more, and I would say I think we have a shot of decentralized AI actually being performant enough and pervasive enough and powerful enough to give some run for the money for these centralized cloud providers and for OpenAI and those similar companies.
And Zach?
I think very similar. I think there will be two aspects that I think is worth mentioning. One is how to balance AI and crypto. I think this is a kind of like forever question for whatever theme, including Desci. So I think that is very critical, and that leads to another thing, which is how do you build a product which is revenue generating enough that token is actually a kind of like a side asset, not the main asset on top of it. And I think the second thing is also like what do you want to verify on chain? It's not just verify for the sake of verifying. So I think that is also like some nuance. Yeah.
Got it. So like before we go to the next question, I was wondering if you guys want to define what is like so-called decentralized AI. What are the things that you see is legit use case for, let's say, crypto using like crypto helping the AI company does, and also AI helping the crypto company does. So you guys want to give like one or two examples that you think it's like a legit use case of crypto in the like so-called decentralized AI space. Maybe start with Zach this time.
Sure. So I think for us, Pundi AI, one similar company that people would like to mention in the traditional AI world is Scale AI. So Scale AI uses a lot of human in the beginning, and then next models to actually train and analyze the data. So I think in crypto space, in decentralized world, you can actually have an edge competing. Okay, compete is not the right word. They are so big, right? But at least kind of like chip certain things out of them, because if you use the decentralized world, you can actually have access to so many people, and the work that these people do can actually be verified on chain. So I think this leveraging the benefit of that is something that we think can bring real use case combining AI and the decentralization.
Got it. So maybe like data labels. And
Yeah.
John, what do you think?
I'd say the governance is one of the most crucial parts of decentralization, right? Is that there is no one provider, one person or one organization that's controlling the AI, that's censoring the AI, that's deciding what's going to be on there or not. That is truly decentralized. I think given the importance of AI in our lives, not having a centralized controller like that is actually an incredibly important thing for the industry and for, to speak boldly, for humanity. Do we want such a crucial resource as AI being controlled by small groups of people?
Yeah, we'll go back to the question of governance. And what do you think, Iman?
Yeah, I think the way that I think about centralized AI versus decentralized AI, what is centralized AI? In many ways, I see centralized AI as AI being built exclusively to perform as efficiently and quickly as possible, right? The goal in centralized AI is to reach that kind of performative state as quickly as possible at essentially all cost, right? They're willing to spend as much money as necessary because the idea here is that the company that wins gets to AGI first and then kind of wins everything after. I think that if there was a way for them to build that, or if it made sense for them to build that in a decentralized manner, they probably would, because for them, kind of money's no object, right? These are the biggest venture capital rounds that kind of ever happen. I think decentralized AI at the moment is pretty much AI that exists kind of everywhere else, right? What angle, what frame of reference do you apply to the way you're building that makes it kind of relevant, whether it's a security perspective, privacy perspective, or decentralization of control perspective. I think those are all kind of relevant spaces that different builders in the decentralized AI space kind of focus on.
Okay. So since John, you mentioned about the governments, the next question would be like governments. So governments in AI projects often centralized due to like complexity or all those reasons due to resource. How can DAOs or like some of the crypto structures help within the space help, let's say, building a more decentralized AI? How does it help with the governance? How can crypto help?
Yeah, well, I mean, it needs to be deliberate, right? Decentralization needs to be built into the protocol, and there needs to be some degree of checks on early riser. So, for instance, we have a situation right now when we're launched. All of the genesis, all the people who joined at the very beginning, for a period of time, have a veto power for proposals until the network gets to a certain size, and then it's going to automatically switch to full governance. So that's one of our protections against some early player coming in, bringing a ton of hardware, and then basically taking over the network. So I think you need to be very deliberate and look for opportunities to restrict that kind of action, using things like veto power and limiting the amount of power any individual player can have.
And Mark?
Yeah, I think BitTensor is a great example of how governance can impact the direction that AI development takes, right? BitTensor is effectively a protocol that emits the Tau token, right? And within that protocol, you have a series of subnets. And those subnets effectively represent a problem statement, right? There's a subnet, for example, I think it's subnet 25, that uses distributed computing to solve for protein folding research, right? Now, all of these subnets will be kind of solving a different problem. Maybe some of them are kind of close to an adjacent problem, but pretty much they all have a different problem statement. And effectively, they get ranked based on governance within that ecosystem from most popular to least popular. The most popular subnets receive the highest distribution of Tau tokens within the protocol. The least popular will receive the least and potentially even drop off and lose the ability to be a subnet. Now, what's really interesting is this kind of popularity contest surfaces really interesting challenges and problem statements that maybe a centralized provider might not consider interesting, right? But I think where it gets even more fascinating is within these subnets, you then have these miners, right? And the miners effectively like small companies, each competing to solve for that problem statement in the most efficient way. And then the miner that solves the problem most effectively gets to gain the highest distribution of rewards allocated to miners within that subnet. So you have this kind of broader governance effect that kind of replicates how public markets work and kind of economics, in the sense that you have the broader ecosystem identifying and solving for problems that it finds the most interesting. And I think that in particular is a great example of how governance can operate in a way that ideally you'd expect serves the community and the public more impactfully than, say, just one or two companies choosing what problems they want to solve internally.
Got it. Thanks. And Zach, is Pundi AI doing something in governance right now?
I think for governance is really about the data set itself. So how do you want to treat the data set and who owns the data set? Because you might have a kind of like first version vanilla data set and someone maybe makes like some edit to it, and so it becomes like the second data set, and thus the second data set have the first data set has ownership to the second data set. So I think all these things can be solved on chain. I mean, I don't think there's a like 100% solution, but I think it really solves like quite a lot of issues that is there. And I think for governance, token governance, there's also a lot of like innovation out there that projects can use. One is the 3-tree model, which actually locks up the token for a longer time. So I think that also kind of like pulls the token holder into decision-making process. Yeah.
Got it. So the next question is, if we look 5 or 10 years from now, what does like truly Web3 native AI ecosystem look like? Is it more on the GPU side? Is it more on the data side? Or is it more on the, I guess, the algorithm side? What are your thoughts on the so-called decentralized AI or Web3 AI ecosystem in the 5 or 10 years?
I'd say what I see is a layered solution, right? So I think you have networks like Gonka that are basically sort of your foundation level, that are focused on providing actual inference and actual, but above that, see, you'll need those low layers to scale for the rest of it, so that you can have enough compute power for the rest of it. So you'd see things more like BitTensor that are using different kinds of AI to solve different problems. You'd see maybe agentic solutions, but then again, the bottom layer needs to be that hardware layer, because we're not getting anywhere without the hardware. That's just the bottom line. So we need something to be built on top of that. I think we'll see other layers of decentralization, other more innovative solutions that are trying to solve different problems. We don't need to all solve the same problem.
Okay, and Mark, what do you think of that?
Yeah, I think it's obviously incredibly difficult to predict where things will be, even maybe 3 years from now, let alone like 5 or 10. The rate of change in the space is effectively exponential. It's pretty crazy, very exciting to be involved in this particular point in time. I guess one of the hypotheses that I have for the near future is the availability of this heterogeneous cloud, the idea that you can more actively access resources that are very different from each other and utilize it in interesting ways. I think personalized AI is going to become more and more prevalent, the idea that you have something connected to your local device that understands you increasingly better over time. And the need for that personalized AI to maybe tap into some form of broader compute network to kind of improve itself and adapt itself is reasonably likely. And I think that in the same way that devices are pre-built to kind of connect into the internet very, very soon, within maybe the next 5 years, we'll have that similar capability or that similar ease of connectivity happening to actually provide compute to this broader compute cloud or compute blob that you can kind of fractionalize ownership of and access to through any device you have on hand. So I think the utility of this heterogeneous cloud is going to drastically increase over time, and I think that's also going to be driven by broader power grid constraints, right? The fact that you need, we're actually seeing energy bottlenecks, right? Not just kind of GPU supply bottlenecks, but actually kind of power bottlenecks that are limiting our ability to deploy new data centers simply because there's not enough power there on the grid. All of the devices that would be powering this kind of heterogeneous cloud are already priced into the grid, right? The devices we already have in our homes. So I think it's an interesting solution to that bottleneck.
Got it. And Zach?
I think I would see that AI agents, a little bit like what Mark said. I think we will have like our alternate agent self when it comes to like maybe finance. So that agent will know better what to do than myself, and there will be like health agent and I don't know, even like relationship agents. So I think I don't know. I feel that a lot of us will be out of job in that way. I mean, your agent would know when and where to like put your USDC stables, get the highest yield, and automate everything. And if you want to build a project, you go to all the other protocols and get compute or whatever. So I think agents will be very prevalent. Yeah.
So agents in the future.
Yeah.
Most AI research and infrastructure is still living in Web 2 silos right now. What practical bridges or a hybrid model do you see emerging that can bring Web 2 innovations into Web 3 space? Do you want to start, Zach?
Bringing Web 2 into Web 3. I think maybe I'll offer like a perspective for Korea. Like, I think they're trying to also bring like Web 2 companies. I mean, Korea is very advanced in Web 3, but Korean government is also preventing Web 2 companies going into Web 3. I mean, maybe not preventing, but they want to like manage it properly. So I think Web 2 companies launching layer 2s going into the space would be something of high interest, especially here in Korea. Yeah.
Got it. Mark?
Yeah, I mean, for us, we're a very Web 2 focused business, right? So we're deep in, we aggregate GPUs, but over 90% of the revenue that we drive for our company comes from Web 2 companies, right? I would say the vast majority of compute that's allocated within our network comes from Web 2 companies. I think for us, it very much took us kind of attempting to kind of abstract away as much of the crypto side as we could, particularly when we were customer facing. Also, creating as many avenues for participation within our network that were, didn't require crypto, even though all revenue within our network accrues to the token, right? Every dollar spent on compute is spent using the token. That doesn't mean these big enterprise companies that work with us need to buy the token, right? We have what effectively is a middleman entity that these companies can interact with that allows us to bridge that gap, live in their world so that that value can accrue into the Web3 world. So it's, it's something that's already happening, certainly within our sector.
Okay. John?
I'd say that Web3 provides sort of a funding model that's not available to Web2, right? Tokenomics and having early adopters and rewarding early adopters, essentially for taking the risk of building this network without having to have massive amounts of funds that you have for these large Web2 companies, right? So I think Web3, it really brings that ability to build something long-term that would not be viable in a Web2 scenario. Right? You just couldn't put that kind of money down, those kinds of processors down. No one has the money to buy these things without some kind of long-term. There's still a risk, but with Web3, at least when you take a risk, you are also going to get the reward.
Got it, right. So one last question coming from me. We talk a lot about like the futures, what has worked, what's like the PMF, what's like the use case. If I were to ask you, what is the one thing that you think is definitely not going to work? Or like when people talk about like Web3 AI and they picture this again, you think probably it's not going to work. What's like this one thing in your mind right now?
I don't think this will be all that controversial, but definitely agents that only have the capability to talk with you, right? Obviously, agents are meant to be the utilization piece, right? If LLMs are the brain, agents are meant to be the hands and the feet. They're the execution layer for AI. We're very used to them in the crypto space as simply being another way to communicate, and that is definitely not going to make it long term.
Got it. Yeah. John?
So I don't think staking games are going to get us where we need to go. Staking and speculation and, hey, what am I going to do to make a bunch of money? We have to be producing actual value. We have to be getting actual GPUs in the game producing actual value. We cannot fake our way. There is no mystery, wave your hands, we're going to solve these problems without actually bringing something to the table that matters. And I think I don't want to be too critical, but I think some of the early AI networks have kind of fallen into that trap where if we can just hype this one thing, but the hype doesn't matter. None of that matters without the compute.
Okay, got it. Zach?
I think a lot of things I thought wouldn't worked, and the other way around. So I don't think I'm a good person for that. Yeah.
Before I let you guys go, maybe like each one of you can share like one thing. What's the next step for the protocol that you're currently building?
Yeah, I think for us, very exciting time. Obviously, had a lot of success with the token over the last kind of 2 weeks in particular. I would say there's a lot that we're building in the ecosystem. Third-party staking is this new kind of process that we're unlocking again. One of the biggest challenges with hardware-based networks is convincing the hardware to onboard into your ecosystem. When you don't own the hardware, you need to manage that counterparty risk. One of the ways you do that is effectively making them pay a deposit to enter into your network. The same way you pay a deposit when you go into a hotel room, you get it back as long as you didn't, break a TV or smash a mirror. Same goes for decentralized networks. At least that's how we have done it. But in AI, you have infrastructure costs that far exceed anything that you've ever had to deal with anywhere else, right? We're getting to a point now where we're onboarding GPU clusters that are 9 figures in size, right? Hundreds of millions of dollars worth of infrastructure. How do you go to a company that has $100 million worth of GPUs and say, hey, how about you just like stake $10 million worth of Aethir token, right? That challenge isn't or hasn't yet been kind of overcome at scale, right? Or at least not at this scale. I mean, if you have $100 million worth of GPUs and you had $10 million to stake into a network, why wouldn't you just go and buy $10 million worth of GPUs more, right? So how do you overcome that? One of the ways that we're overcoming it is with this third-party staking, right? The ability where we can create a staking pool where people can contribute resources. Those resources can then be borrowed against by these big compute providers, and then they can pay interest on that, and that effectively becomes yield for the people that helped those big compute providers onboard into their network. So that's something that we have up and running. We're partnered with Eigenlayer on an AVS. It solves that problem amongst a couple of other protocols with Bloom and Ondo that will be coming out over the coming months.
Cool.
So Gonka is obviously we're focused a lot on very similar problem, which is how to get more people on board, how do we get them to buy in, and we of course geared our tokenomics to reward the long-term look of bringing more compute, right? So that's our hope there is that's the incentive that gets people to join now to help build the network. Plus when we get to the full size, now we have full governance, we start charging for entrances, we start really earning the point. So that's where we're focused right now. Obviously, adding new models as they go and getting our governance working, getting our ability to roll out updates, etc. quickly, given our distributed governance is the big things we're trying to figure out.
Okay, and Zach?
Right, so at Pundi AI, what we want to do is to actually increase the data sets volume that we have. Right now we have about 120,000, and we want to increase more data sets, and for meaningful projects to use the data sets to create a breakthrough, whether it's agents or train a model. And I think the recent announcement between us and NVIDIA also allows us to reach like researcher from the non-Web3 space, so pure AI space. So I think that is what we want to do, yeah.
Okay, with that, I think that's the end of the panel. And can I get a round of applause for the amazing panelists?